All right, so hey, today we're going to cover the angry Sam Bradford, Josh Norman's monumental signing to the Washington professional football team, the Vontez Burfict versus Steelers Twitter and real life beef, and weed use in the NFL, because there's a lot of that, and it's worth talking about. So I mean, let's kick it off with Sam Bradford. I said in the first recording, I'm a diehard Eagles fan, and in the first podcast, I covered the trade with the Browns that gave the Eagles the number 2 pick. And one of the things I didn't cover, I didn't consider it really at the time because the shock of the pick had me taken aback, and I wasn't looking at it all the way strategically as I should. But now, how does Sam Bradford feel about this? So I'm under the assumption that, hey, look, this dude just signed a massive 2-year contract. Maybe the Eagles overpaid to have him there. So he's getting paid to be the man. The Eagles have said he's the man, and now they make this move with the Browns to get this number 2 pick, and the assumption is they're going after Carson Wentz, right? So the assumption is they're going after Carson Wentz, and now Bradford's agent, Tom Condon, stands up and he goes, Tom's angry. He wants to prove he's the best, but apparently Tom wants to prove he's the best somewhere else. So and therein lies the issue that I have, right? So I'm not going to sit here and say, hey, Sam Bradford's got no right to be pissed. He kind of does. The dude's like 6 years in. He hasn't done shit. And he's kind of wanting to have a home. He wants to have a home. He thought Philly was the place, but now he kind of feels that he's a stopgap. But he's only a stopgap if he makes that, he makes himself into a stopgap. So I got D on the line. D from down south. Say what's up, D.
What's up?
Yeah. So all right. So Bradford wants to trade out of Philly. He's not happy. He's already pocketed $5.5 million. He hasn't publicly said anything himself other than I don't pay attention to the draft, when obviously he does. So I mean, what's as a non-Eagles fan, what's your take on all this?
Sam Bradford's being a bit. He's being an entitled little bitch, and we all know that. He's had 7 good years to prove that he was worthy of his Heisman Trophy and the number 1 draft pick, and he hasn't done that. If you don't want to compete, ultimately, a la Aaron Rodgers, Brett Favre, where the rookie quarterback could possibly learn behind a wily veteran that's been in the league for 6+ years, going on 7, then he's being a bitch.
I concur. All right, so this drafting the future, this isn't a new thing. Like, this has happened before, right? You mentioned Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers. Like, Brett Favre had first-round draft pick, highly touted quarterback out of Cal, Aaron Rodgers, sit on his ass and hold that clipboard for 4 fucking years. For 4 years. Eventual Super Bowl winning Aaron Rodgers sat behind the man. Brett Favre, because, and Brett Favre, they've never heard Brett Favre say nothing about it. Brett Favre went out there and played football because he's goddamn Brett Favre, and you need to be better than Brett Favre if you're going to unseat Brett Favre, and Brett Favre's not worried about you being better than Brett Favre because Brett Favre knows you're not better than Brett Favre because he's goddamn Brett Favre, right? So that's kind of like what you expect from your starting quarterback, right? If your quarterback's going to prove he's the man and he's the competitor, he's going to go out of his way to outclass anyone you bring in to press him, right? So Sam Bradford was totally okay with Chase Daniels coming in to press him because Chase Daniels has accepted a lot in life that means that he's going to forever ride the pine. Like, you're not worried about Chase Daniels taking your job. Chase Daniels likes the backup role. He's completely comfortable there. He was brought in to do that. He's brought in more like, hey, Sam, when the coach says this is what he means. All right, so but we don't have to go as far as Green Bay. Right, look at the second-round selection of Kevin Kolb here in Philly. McNabb was still very much a prolific quarterback in Philly when Kevin Kolb was drafted in the second round, and he voices his pleasure. I'm surprised that they would do this, but you really never heard about him holding out. He didn't hold out. He went to the off-season camps. He went out there and performed in the regular season and gave Philadelphia several more great years. Before they finally got rid of him to send him to Washington. But by that time, he was just grossly ineffective. But the bottom line was, it never once did McNabb have the air about him that he wasn't the man in Philly. Right? He had the keys. He was driving it. He was the man. Right? So they've said, Sam, you're our starting quarterback. You're the man. You are the starting quarterback. You're the man. If Sam plays this right, right? He goes out there and he plays lights out football, takes the Eagles to deep into the playoffs or whatever, and he has either given himself a permanent home in Philly or made himself a very lucrative contract at some other franchise that's quarterback hungry. Denver's looking. Cleveland's going to be looking when RG3 explodes into a million pieces. The Texans are going to be looking when Brock Osweiler turns out to be a piece of shit. There are the Dallas Cowboys are going to want somebody after Romo is exploded again. I mean, there's going to be teams looking for a good quarterback, and if you go out there and you say fuck it and you just go ham and kill it, despite the fact that it's drafted this rookie, you've either got a home where you're at or you're going to get paid somewhere else and you're going to be the man there. But to bitch up and go, I don't want to be here no more because as much of a competitor as I am, I don't actually want to compete with this undrafted rookie that doesn't really exist yet. I mean, that's really some hoe shit. I mean, I would think so. So, yeah, I mean, I'm echoing your sentiments. He's being a little bitch. He's feeling entitled. He's being a bitch. And, I mean, how do you think he should have approached that?
Should have just shut his mouth and play football when it's time to play football. And if he don't cut it, then he gets ousted. But don't oust yourself. You're a millionaire. How you complaining? Play football.
So what do you think his agent's role was in this? You think his agent, because the agents get paid off the top. So do you think that the agent, if he signs another contract, the agent gets another 10% or whatever? You think the agent is doing this out of his own greed? Like, you think that he's giving Sam bad advice?
Well, personally, I don't think any agent does that. I think agents work on behest of their clients, period, point blank. Or else you'd get fired, and then you'd make a public appearance looking for a new agent. Since that's not what's happening, and that's never what happens in professional sports, you're only doing this because your client wants to do this. If your client's being a little bitch and hiding behind you, that just proves the point. He's even more of a bitch.
I agree with that. Yeah. All right, cool. So I was looking at Condon as being kind of like as convincing Sam he needed to do this, but ultimately Sam's got to agree with it or he does get fired. You're correct. If Condon steps out of pocket and does it, and Sam doesn't like what he's doing, then Sam will fire his ass or at least tell him to stop. But he hasn't done that yet. So, yeah, I agree.
How many people have we heard getting rid of Drew Rosenhaus and all these other high-powered agents? At the end of the day, your agent represents the client. It's not the other way around. So the agent doesn't speak without the client expressing some discontent.
I agree with that. So, yeah, Sam's feelings are hurt, and he needs a lollipop and a boo-boo for his Band-Aid for his boo-booed feelings. But reality, I mean, he really at this point he really can't go back to Philly because I mean Philly's not going to tolerate this kind of shit. Well, that's another problem that Sam Bradford was probably afraid of. He hasn't played in a real city, right?
Not to knock, but it is a small market. They don't call for your head in St. Louis like they do in California and the East Coast, northern East Coast. Right.
I mean, but even then, right? So let's say that, I mean, because there's always going to be detractors in Philly. I mean, there's always going to be folks who, if you're not Iverson or Dawkins and you're not wearing your emotions on your sleeve, there's always going to be a segment of the population that doesn't embrace you, and that's to be expected because Philly's a very blue collar place. Philly is has a role and they play it well in Philadelphia. But by playing this particular card, can Sam Bradford survive in Philadelphia after this particular move, or did he just allow his agent to talk him out of a home?
I venture to say he possibly talked himself out of 30 teams in the NFL because no one wants a kid that don't want to compete. Yeah. That's part of the process. Your competition is part of the process. And if you're scared to compete with an unproven talent, you don't have the mental capacity to properly lead my team.
There's that aspect as well.
Players know that, right? Yeah. Like players absolutely know that. So like you're not going to scare me.
So do you think that this has hurt his presence in the locker room? You think that, all right, so say he calms down and he starts showing up to the mini camps or whatever. Do you think that his presence in the locker room is diminished because of this particular move?
His presence in the locker room is diminished greatly due to this across the board. I mean, it doesn't make a difference if he comes back and plays lights out. The moment he makes one mistake, that's what they're going to go to. And if he's scared of a rookie on his heels, an unproven rookie who's never seen NFL defenses, who's never played with the speed of the game where everybody is top-notch, stellar performers, like you got a one-up on this kid already, and you're scared. And if you're scared, that fear shows in the huddle. That fear shows in the locker room. You can't effectively lead a group of men if you were scared of a kid.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. So Sam would probably in Sam's best interest to just chill out and prove that he was the man, and then make some noise in the offseason if that's what he wanted to do after having proven
there's no making noise for Sam Bradford. Sam Bradford is at the point in his career with this mistake right here. He's gonna end up a career veteran.
Oh no,
and maybe he'll come in and do great things for a team as the backup. But he's not going to be in charge of anything because teams don't need quarterbacks like that. Like, if you're a quarterback, you need to be a leader. More than you need to have the talent, you need to be a leader. And he's not a leader if he's scared of a kid.
No, I got you. All right, so let's say hypothetically he doesn't act like a bitch. Let's say hypothetically he feels how he's going to feel in his mansion, but doesn't make it public, right? And he has that right. You want to fucking be butthurt in your mansion. And he comes out, does all the offseason drills, goes through the preseason and everything else, and then goes through the whole season. And then at the end of the season, the conclusion of the 2016-2017 football season, he makes some noise. I think at that point, he would either have the leverage to make the noise and demand some shit, or he wouldn't. Either way, he'd be justified.
Sam Bradford's not that good of a quarterback.
I looked at the last few weeks of his performance in Philly, and I thought he did pretty good considering the receivers couldn't catch a cold in a damn rainstorm, and the offensive line had a tough time picking up the blitz. I watched him get smoked in Miami by the linebacker. I watched him take that hit, and I watched him come back and play some pretty damn good football. And I watched the defense and Chip Kelly with his offense really give up a lot of points toward the end of the game. But I was willing to let him. To see what he's going to do this season, considering that he had a more stable, a more traditional coach at this point. He wasn't running with Chip Kelly, the visionary. He's going with Doug Peterson and Andy Reid 2.0. So it's quarterback friendly. He's got a solid running back stable behind him. The offensive line, they were bolstering that. I was looking forward to seeing how the receivers grew and how Sam grew with them, because he's got Zach Ertz. He's got Aguilar. Hopefully he's going to come around and huff. And Matthews was pretty consistent, minus those few key drops in the beginning of the year. But Matthews was really killing it out of the slot as far as the Eagles are concerned. So I was looking forward to seeing that, and I thought he would be at least an above average quarterback. But at this point, I don't know what he's going to be able to do.
He doesn't possess the necessary skill set to be an amazing talent and lead the NFL franchise. That's why he's not where he was drafted at, and he was drafted to be the savior of a franchise.
Well,
he came in, he did what he was supposed to do in Philly, but that was a product of Chip Kelly's offense. Let's just be totally honest. Now, he has to be a leader, and he has to make decisions, and clearly he didn't do that in St. Louis, which is why he ain't there. And without Chip Kelly, it is a quarterback-friendly offense for quarterbacks who can actually play the game, but Sam Bradford is not that quarterback.
Well, I think the two knee injuries really played a huge part in his exile from St. Louis. They got Nick Foles, who at the time was looking good, and a second-round draft pick. So, you got a quarterback with two busted knees who's currently busted when you trade him. So you just get rid of that risk, and you get rid of that paycheck. So, really, St. Louis didn't have anything to lose because Sam Bradford wasn't available for most of the time that he was there.
The fact that you just made the common phrase, they didn't have anything to lose. Quarterbacks that franchises are built around, teams understand that they are losing something. And St. Louis didn't feel like that.
Yeah.
Proof positive that he was nothing to lose.
Well, I think regardless of his ability to lead, him being unavailable undermines him, right? Like, you look at someone like Eli Manning. Eli Manning's greatest strength at this point is that he's always there. Like, Eli Manning gets hit but he is there every game. Like, you can depend on Eli, dumbass face Manning, being under center every Sunday, making bad decisions up until the fourth quarter. That's what you can depend on. You can fucking bank on it. You know that Manning's going to throw picks in the fourth quarter and then lead your team to fucking victory, but he's going to be there every week. And I got to respect Manning for that. Like, that's what he does. Like, I've seen him get hit. He gets up, gets back in the fucking huddle, and he's there the next week. Bradford, he missed, 2.5 seasons. Blown his knee out. So, yeah, at that point, the Rams have nothing to lose because they haven't really, they haven't seen Sam become anything because he's been wearing, on crutches his whole time in the city. So, yeah, I mean,
he wasn't. Let's be honest. Let's look at this totally in football, right? Just complete football. The Pittsburgh Steelers drafted a rookie. He got hurt. He didn't play. He played preseason for 3 games, and they kept him for 3 years because they understood the potential. He parlayed that into a starting position just recently with the Titans. Sam Bradford had 4 years before he started blowing his knees out, and they didn't feel like he was the future of the franchise.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Fuck him. Fuck him.
when you want to put it into perspective, I mean, you got an unproven rookie linebacker that gets drafted, gets injured, what they thought was a career-ending injury. They kept him on the roster, allowed him to come back on his final year of his rookie contract, extended that contract, and now he just parlayed that into big dollars for the Titans because someone had faith in him. But you're talking about Sam Bradford, who the franchise was supposedly being built around, Heisman Trophy winner, had years before he blew his knees out and didn't do what he needed to do to make them feel like, well, once his knees are good, we can put him back on the field. He's not a franchise quarterback. That's what that means.
All right. I mean, shit.
Because you think about it. Pittsburgh is the stable of linebackers. So if anything, any linebacker that gets hurt in Pittsburgh Steelers organization, they can go.
Because there's another one right there.
Right. But they kept this kid. That show, hey, look, I have faith in his ability, his talent, his leadership, the intangibles that he's going to have on and off the field. That was obviously not Sam Bradford. For him to be the first round pick and a Heisman Trophy winner, if you blow out both your knees and you sit for 4 years and you come back after 4 years, I'm thinking you the second coming of Dan Marino. But that's not what happened. So they didn't have faith.
Fair enough. I mean, all right, so another aspect of this, as going back to the draft, apparently the drug deals are already in place. Like the LA Rams are going to be taking Jared Goff, and at least the Eagles with their guy Wentz. I always find it interesting that the teams will make these drug deals like this, and like this time it's not even like subtle. They're blatantly saying, "Oh no, yeah, we're going to totally take Goff," and the Eagles are like, "Yeah, well, we know they're going to take Goff, so we're going to take Wentz." And it's like I don't think I've seen a drug deal this blatant between general managers in a long time. Normally, I mean, there's some gamesmanship of who they're going to take. Let's see, but this stands out to be one of the most boring drafts in the wild if it goes as the teams predict. If it goes that way, and it probably will. 9 times out of 10? Well, I'll say 8 times out of 10 because there is one time in recent football history where everybody thought one kid was going to go and they were going to build a franchise around him, and it didn't happen. Mario Williams got taken a hit of Reggie Bush. We don't know what's going to happen come draft day. Yeah. We all have speculation, and yes, those quarterbacks they are seemingly top tier, but that does not necessarily mean they are going to go 1 and 2. All right, so here's my prediction, right? Overall, number 1 pick is going to be Jared Goff. Eagles going to take Wentz at number 2. And the Cowboys, who I believe are at 4, are going to make a play for Paxton Lynch. They're going to reach and take Paxton Lynch as their heir apparent to Tony Romo. That's what I see. They're in position. They need to do it. They know they need to do it. Everybody knows it. Johnny Manziel is off the market because he just got fucking indicted for a misdemeanor for battery. He needs to go to rehab. Jerry Jones is not even crazy enough to sign that dude right now. So we go for the rookie with the intangibles with Paxton Lynch. I see him going to Dallas at number 4. I don't see him making out of the top 10, not because he's that good, just because of the necessity of those teams in the top 10. So, well, either way. So enough Sam Bradford. Fuck him. and his being a bitch about being a Philly and not wanting to compete against a rookie who doesn't even exist yet. Let's move on to the Josh Norman signing. All right, so Josh Norman comes off a Super Bowl loss out of Carolina. The dude was the shutdown corner. He got into fisticuffs with Beckham, Odell Beckham Jr. And so I believe he's got $75 million over 5 years with 30 guaranteed in DC.
51 guaranteed.
Holy shit, $51 million guaranteed. Oh my God. So all right. So this dude is making Darrelle Revis money. He's making like I'm going to shut down half this field money, right? But
yes.
he's going to the NFC East. He's got to compete. Julio Jones is no more, which is good for him because Julio Jones is a goddamn anomaly. But he's got to compete with Odell Beckham Jr. and the Giants receiving core. He's got to compete with Dez Bryant for 3 quarters because he doesn't show up in the fourth. And he's got to show up with whatever leftovers from the stands the Eagles decide to field as receivings. So he's got at least 2 receiving cores worth note that he's got to have to face in the NFC East 2 games apiece. But that's an insane amount of money. Do you see like is he Revis? Is he at the same level as Darrelle Revis at this point?
No one is Revis,
but he may be worth the money since cornerbacks' salaries are inflated right now.
Yeah,
let's just be honest.
Yeah, so
and he's going to earn his keep. And he wasn't like top round draft pick or nothing like that. He played his way into this contract, so it's good that he's getting his money. But you're right. In the NFC East, quarterbacks ain't scared to throw the ball at him, and the receivers will catch the ball. He's not going to shut down ODB. We all know that.
Yeah.
So he's not going to earn his money doing that. He's not going to shut down Dez. We know that. He's not going to earn his money that way either. Well, so hopefully they scheme fit him properly. Because he is not a one-on-one shutdown corner.
Well, the Washington professional football team, they're as far as the East is concerned, they're the most stable team. They've got a decent defensive secondary. I think he'll fit their scheme fairly well, but it all depends on how they use him. And what's funny is that Champ Bailey went up today and said that the dude is worth every penny. So I mean, we're talking Champ Bailey's a Hall of Famer soon to be. And he's co-signing this kid, saying, "Hey, look, he's worth what they're paying him." Because you start pulling in numbers like that, $51 guaranteed million. Folks are going to question your value just because of, especially if you come from a great defense like what Carolina had in the field last year. How much of that was you, and how much of that was the folks around you. So how much of that money should you be sending back to Carolina, to those linebackers and that safety that's sitting over the top for you? But Champ co-signed him. Champ said, "Hey, yo, the dude's worth the money." And I mean, Champ doesn't make a lot of noise as far as I don't see Champ Bailey making a lot of statements, but he made that one, so I think that holds some water. We'll see what the kid does. I mean,
yeah, the proof will definitely be in the pudding, but I don't think no corner is worth that kind of money personally, except for maybe Revis.
Well, yeah, Revis has proven himself on several franchises to be the man. I mean, really, Randy Moss is going to do Randy Moss, and when Randy Moss burns Darrelle Revis, it's not that Darrelle Revis wasn't good; it was just that he was guarding Randy Moss. That's it. I mean, there's really no thing. If Moss gets in front of you at all, it's a catch. So. But
that's how it works.
So I don't know. Were you aware that he tried to go back because he actually hadn't signed the franchise tender? Right? Were you aware of that he actually hadn't signed it and that he was going to go back and sign it? He was trying to sign it when they yanked it out and said no. Did you know that? I did not know that until a couple days ago. Yeah, I thought the dude just kind of said, fuck it, I'm not signing with you bitches. You need to pay me. And then they just said, well, okay, you're not signing. But I didn't know he was going to sign at the last minute. But this is the Panthers.
He definitely seems like he was one of them good team player type guys. Yeah, he was like, okay, I'll take this money and I'll do what I need to do. I've played my way
where I'm at right now. I mean, because like I said, he's not like he was first off the board during the draft. I mean, I think he's a 5th round draft pick or something crazy.
Yeah, fifth or 7th, some crazy. Like he was non-projected he's a special teamer. when they drafted him, but he's turned out to be a pretty good corner. But I thought it was interesting. Carolina they play hardball with contracts. This is the team that let the angriest receiver ever to play go to Baltimore. We had a few more good years. I mean, Steve Smith, to let him go was just ridiculous because of what he brought. But he still brings to the table, as far as I'm concerned. I mean, you're going to get some good catches, some malice out of him, and to let him walk to Baltimore was just kind of absurd. But hey, Baltimore plays tough. Not Baltimore, but the Carolina plays tough with their contracts, and that's what they do. So we'll see how far that takes them as these young defensive players start into that rookie contract and start looking to get paid. But so let's go on to something else totally different. All right, so Vontaze Burfict. That's how you say his name? Burfict. How do you say his name, D?
Birdshit.
Birdshit, right. Vontaze Birdshit.
Vontaze Birdshit.
Yeah, so I remember this dude, right? I remember him the year he got drafted because he had gotten in some shit in college. Like, he wasn't coming out. He was seen as talented, but like filthy. He had done something in college, got himself in trouble, and fell drastically down the board as a result, and people thought he wasn't even going to get selected. But the Bengals, they pick him, and he's turned out to be quite the dirtbag. He was twisting ankles, and it wasn't until he went after Cam the Man Newton's ankles that the NFL decided to take notice and fine him. But hey, look, that's football. He concusses the number one receiver in the NFL, and it was at a wild card game last year.
Yeah.
So end of the game, right? He concusses Antonio Brown on an uncatchable pass, unnecessarily, right? The flag is thrown. Pac-Man Jones loses his mind. So a 15 on top of 15 puts the Steelers in position to win the game, right? That's how it went.
That's how it went.
All right. So what makes it worse though is that Pac-Man Jones, because he's gonna be fucking Pac-Man. I'm not calling him Adam for shit. Pac-Man Jones and Bird shit decide they're gonna say, hey, look, he's faking an injury, right? Hey, Antonio Brown is faking a concussion on the field for the sake of a 15-yard penalty. For a bang-bang play, he's got the situational awareness to pull off concussion symptoms on the field. In a split second, he's decided to do this, and so they make their statements, and they make rather disgusting statements. All right, so of course, because everyone's a millennial now, they take it to Twitter, because apparently that's where beefs go now, is Twitter. So they go to Twitter, and it goes back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And who's is it D'Angelo Williams? Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, D'Angelo Williams was hurt that game, right?
Yeah,
he was. He was hurt that game, and he took Burfict to task, told him a bitch and everything else. So we're talking about the AFC North. This is a brutal division. I'm not even gonna sit here and lie. I'm an NFC East fan, and for a long time, the NFC East was where you went to go get some damn good football. But let's be real, like the AFC North is absolutely fucking cutthroat and brutal. I mean, there's some hitters out there. So now you have the Steelers and the Bengals. What does this incident do to that particular rivalry? Like, is it a rivalry, for one? Can the Steelers and Bengals be considered a rivalry?
Well, it's not really a rivalry. The Steelers simply hate the Sissy Cats, and that's just how it works. It's not a rivalry. A rivalry implies that they are actually champions and they win things. Since they don't actually win nothing, they're not rivals.
Fair enough. All right, so with last year's playoff game, right, really not being that far away and being kept alive via tweets, does it change the dynamic of the games as they'll be played next season? Because I want to say that Burfict is suspended, but I don't know if he's suspended for one of the Steelers games.
Well, it absolutely changes the dynamic of every game, because before that game, when we played them earlier in the year, they got into a fight, and the game was delayed by 20 minutes, and they had to calm all the players down and get them off the field.
I remember that.
So there's clearly like hate and discontent. I don't know why the same referee crew was reffing the game that Antonio Brown was put out of, but hey, Roger Goodell's about getting money. So at any rate, that right there, there's always going to be an issue. There's going to be an issue, but there's been issues since long before that. Like people don't, if you're not an AFC North fan, you don't understand the dynamic of the Sissy Cats and the Steelers since the days of Carson Palmer and the low hit.
Oh, from Kimo von Olsen?
Right, the roll up from Kimo, and then when Hines Ward smashed the linebacker and put him out the game. Like, those are all Bengals plays.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember he broke the kid's jaw on a crackback. It was a rookie linebacker. Hines Ward broke his jaw, and they made a rule called the Hines Ward rule. But the rule actually didn't apply to the blocks that Hines Ward was throwing.
Yeah, they just called it the Hines Ward rule because Hines Ward just laid the smackdown, and he had a glass jaw.
Yeah, you got to keep your hand on the swivel, homie. Like, hey, look, I played the game, you played the game. The crackback's coming. They're linebacker, so you need to be aware of that. And Hines Ward apparently took pride in his ability to block, and you was gonna get the business. So you need to know that. But maybe you didn't watch enough game film because you're a rookie, and that's why your ass got your jaw broke. But hey, look, it is what it is. That was actually several years ago. But so the question: Do we see overt attempts at retribution from Steelers offensive players towards Perfect at this point?
No, you won't see that because the Steelers organization is entirely too level-headed, and we're about winning. When you talk to anybody who watches any football, people can throw it out that the Steelers are dirty, or we might have a dirty player here and there. Every team has a dirty player here and there. The organization itself is not dirty. Mike Tomlin is in control. The Rooneys are in control. They're not going to allow that to derail their possibility at championships. Whereas Marvin Lewis ain't never won shit in his life. So he doesn't know how to control his players, because they ultimately they could have been on their way to the ship, but they weren't. Why? Because he couldn't control his players because they got frustrated and they got angry. They were winning the game.
They were.
Right. How the hell do you give up a 30-yard penalty? That's unheard of. That's unprecedented.
That's almost a third of the field, man.
Right. Like, so clearly Marvin Lewis has no control, and that lack of control comes from the ownership and it comes from the coaching staff. They're not winners. So you're not going to see that from the Steelers. You definitely may see that from Cincinnati. We come out, we start whooping their ass, or they start whooping our ass. Ben starts coming back. What happens? They get frustrated. They make shitty mistakes.
So you're saying so is this symptomatic of the Bengals franchise, or is this symptomatic of just Marvin Lewis?
That's symptomatic of the Bengals franchise. Let's look at the Bengals record historically. Like that's what happens. Like when fights on the field, it's usually Cincinnati. Like there's other dirty teams, but it's usually Cincinnati. Like Burfict is a prime example of a kid who no one can control. The refs couldn't control him. Yeah. Hence, the entirety of the game, he's getting flagged and screamed at, yelling at the coaches. Coaches are telling them to calm down, just relax. They got the game in hand. And what happens? He throws the game away.
So you think
that is an indicator of Marvin Lewis and the Cincinnati franchise inability to be winners. Period. They can't win.
I got you. Well, like I said, he fell in the draft because of his mental state.
No, he fell in the draft because of weed.
That's what he got in trouble for, was weed. I thought he did something grimy. No, I thought it was something bigger than that. I didn't think it was a weed thing, man.
He popped on the piss test during the combine piss test. So he had some other off the field issues.
No, yeah, there was a charge, man. Like he was like an assault charge or something like that.
There were off the field issues, but he was definitely a first round talent, and the other off the field issues were all taken care of. But he went to the combine high, performed very badly, did horrible on his interviews. Like this is a statistical fact. Like he performed like he smoked weed before he went to the combine.
You think he was in a car on the way to the combine, hotboxing with homies?
Like before they said go on the 40-yard dash, he might have hit the weed and then ran, and he thought he was running fast, but he was running in slow motion because he was high. Who knows? But he popped on the piss test for weed. He performed badly at the combine. He already had some off the field issues. He blamed the coaches at his school for sabotaging his draft prospects, even though he was clearly considered a first round talent, and no one said anything other than that. But he had some off the field issues, and then he popped on the piss test, so he fell.
Bad life decisions, man. Bad choices don't make themselves. Let me tell you that. So, well, all right. So speaking of weed, right? Weed use in the NFL. The conversation started, right? So the generation of the pill poppers is kind of phasing out, right? You got people look at Brett Favre and they look at his tenure in Green Bay and his Super Bowl appearances and his Super Bowl champion, his win. They look at his MVP trophies. They look at all these things, but they forget that he was addicted to painkillers early in his career. They forget that this dude was a pill popper. And it's convenient to forget that because pills are looked at as a clean, sterile, drug, but in reality is pills are killing people, right? But I've really never heard of anyone smoking themselves to death off a J. I've seen people take some serious naps, right? But yeah. I've never seen anyone like overdose on weed like I've seen people overdose on OxyContin, oxycodone, hydrocodone. I've never seen that effect, but you put a doctor's prescription in on it, and anything becomes, immediately legitimate. So Brett Favre was a pill popper. This is known. There's like ABC specials about how he was able to beat his addiction. So go Brett, right? But you have players who are taking more of a homeopathic way to treat their pain, right? So instead of, these guys have seen the generations prior and their addictions to painkillers and how that has affected them throughout the season and how it affected them after they were done playing. They've seen this, right? These guys, they witnessed this. So they're going, you know what? After games, I'm going to burn one down. It's going to relax my body. It's going to help treat the pain. It's going to do all these things. However, weed is on the no-no list. All right, weed is on the no-no list. Ricky Williams, right? Good running back. Weed. Josh Gordon was a leading receiver at one point in the NFL. Weed. So, I mean, these dudes they're trying to treat themselves, right, without going to addictive painkillers, and they're smoking weed to do it, but they're getting slammed for it. So do you see the NFL changing its stance significantly enough within the next 5 years to where they either A, just say, we're going to stop like prosecuting this, or B, they just start ignoring it like they were ignoring Lawrence Taylor snorting coke on the sidelines?
Well, this is definitely one of those two-part type questions. You say, do I see the NFL changing its stance? Absolutely not. Because it's a moneymaker. You find these kids, you stop paying these kids, and these kids are ultimately slaves to the system. So no, they're not going to change their stance. They don't have to, especially as long as Roger Goodell can run wild with the fans. That's just a fact of the matter. Should they change it? Probably. Should we be on the list? Probably not, seeing as how some states are legalizing marijuana use, especially for medicinal purposes. So when you start looking at it from that angle, like, okay, yeah, it's not that bad of a drug, but these are millionaires. So, even though there's a lot of truth in jest, I'll tell you, if I was making $51 million, I'm paying somebody to smoke weed for me and tell me how I feel.
Word. It's like, so what I think it's misconstrued though is you have the Sam Hurd weed dude, right? So Sam Hurd, yeah, he smoked, but I mean Sam Hurd was moving product, right? You got like dudes that's still trying to move product, but then you got like the dudes that's like really just don't want to take painkillers because of what it does to them, right? I'm not gonna pretend to know the reason these kids smoke weed. That would be like awful presumptuous of me to say that. Like this may be just something that's commonplace from the neighborhoods and from the areas and the socioeconomic backgrounds that they come from, and they just can't kick it because it's a psychological habit. So, I mean, I'm not going to sit here and be like, okay, yeah, they smoke weed to numb the pain. Because like Burfict, for instance, he was smoking weed when he was in college, obviously, because he popped on the piss test when he went to the combine. Yeah. So that didn't have nothing to do with NFL pain. And you got kids like Martavius Bryant. Popped on the piss test, got suspended for a couple games.
lo and behold, he's suspended for an entire year, not for smoking weed again, but for missing one of the mandatory drug tests. And because if you miss the drug test, it's like a failed test. He's suspended for a year. You got folks like Josh Gordon and Ricky Williams. Now, like, these kids come from places where weed is probably commonplace, so they just smoke weed.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, but at the same time, there are those that we can safely assume that there are some players using it for pain management, and there are some players using it for recreational purposes, and the same can be said for the prescription drugs that they get prescribed.
Yeah, I'm going with recreational. See, I'm not gonna pretend to say it's for pain management. I'm going with all of them are smoking weed for recreational purposes. Le'Veon Bell, prime example. He gets caught.
Oh yeah,
right. He's getting high in his Camaro on the way to the airport to play the game.
With what's his damn name, dude? Blount.
Yeah, so that's what that is. Got pulled over and said, I didn't know I could get a DWI while I was high. I thought I had to be drunk. Like, okay, clearly you was high as hell if you said that to the police.
Yeah.
So I mean, that ain't got shit to do with pain management. So I'm not going to pretend that that's what that's about. Like, it's not about pain management. If it's about pain management, then these people you would have doctors coming out fighting for the right to prescribe their patients medical marijuana, and that's not what's happening. These cats is copping weed and smoking.
Yeah.
So I'm not, but I'm not vilifying anyone. Like, if you gonna smoke, but like I said, you pay me a couple $1 million, I'm gonna pay somebody to smoke for me. Every time I want to smoke, I just throw you $1 million and you tell me how high you are, and then I'll act like I was high.
Yeah,
because clearly their priorities are fucked up.
Hey, yeah, you know what? Those cases I actually kind of forgot about. So you get things like that. I actually made fun of the whole Camaro high on the way to the game thing. I had a little bit of fun with that last season because it was hilarious, right?
Yeah,
it was hilarious. And it always catches me off guard. Like, when these dudes they pop. It's like, so, like, did you not know you were gonna have to pee in the cup at some point this season? Like, did you just say fuck it? He was gonna live with the repercussions. Or so either way, whether it'd be recreational as you say, it's mostly recreational, or I'd say, like, yeah, probably.
Well, I'm not saying it's mostly recreational. I'm saying I'm not buying pain management.
Okay, so if it's not recreational,
pain management implies that I have been told to take this pill, but I'm going to do something instead.
Okay,
but none of these people are under doctor's care. Like, you're not seeing them say, well, yeah, we know he had Oxy in his system, and we know he had Vicodin and Perks in his system, and he had Adderall because he got ADHD and he couldn't pay attention to the game film. Fuck all that. We only see the weed. That's not what's happening. So these motherfuckers are popping for weed.
So if it's not recreational, how would you classify the weed use? If it's not recreational. Right.
No, not pain management. No. It's all recreational.
It's all recreational. You're saying at no point, for any player who's smoking, is it for any other reason than I want to get high right now?
No, I'm not buying. Like, I don't care what nobody. They're not going to convince me. There's not a player in the NFL. Every player in the NFL makes damn near $1 million a year at a minimum. Damn near, right? You're not going to convince me that at $1 million a year, after 4 years of college, you don't know that weed is on the banned substance list, even though it probably shouldn't be. And the doctor told you, here's a pill, because they do make weed in pill form.
I think it's called Marinol.
Right. So if the doctor prescribed you that, then you would have a leg to stand on. But you're smoking weed.
Okay.
That's different. Okay. You're smoking weed. You're copping weed you're copping a bag of weed. You're smoking it. You're rolling blunts. That means you're getting high for fun.
All right. I'm tracking. I understand what you're saying. So because of that, and because Roger Goodell is running around unchecked, and because of the whole NFL image, let's sell it to everybody thing, you don't see the NFL changing its stance on marijuana, whether it be medicinal or recreational, at all.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with the selling to everybody image, because so many people out here in the world smoke weed. That's irrelevant. Roger Goodell is a money man. He's a businessman. If you allow them to get high on weed, you eliminate a lot of other drugs that clearly are distributed to NFL players, thereby cutting down on money and doctors and other things of this nature, as well as the fines and the players' salaries. Because you figure, if you do the math, a player who's suspended for a year is not making any salary. That money is still going back into the NFL in some way, shape, or form. Take Martavius Bryant. His jersey is probably going to be one of the number one selling jerseys for the Pittsburgh Steelers. He's not going to be on the field for the entire year. That salary is going to remain in the hands of the Rooneys. That right there is proof positive this is about a business. It has nothing to do with the weed or any of that. That's money. That's a money decision. Roger Goodell has fined him, so he has to pay out money. And as well as paying out money, they get to keep that salary.
Because he's suspended.
There you go.
All right.
So Roger Goodell is not going to let that happen. Roger Goodell is a businessman. We know that. We see the way he levies fines to players.
Yeah.
Like after the fact, not like a play on the field happens, no flag is thrown. Come Wednesday,
fine.
There's a $75,000 fine.
You got fined.
That's money.
The refs missed it.
That's right.
That's
money.
Yeah. Y'all agreed to this. Your players association agreed to this.
There you go. That's about money. That's not about stopping weed use. That's not about the image of the NFL. That's about money. That is straight up getting paid. I'm keeping my money, and we're gonna keep it moving. I ain't got to pay this kid, and I'm gonna find this kid, and it works.
Fair enough. All right. So, hey, closing thing. This is not something I mentioned on the way in, but apparently the United States Appeals Court reinstated Tom Brady's 4-game suspension. Right, so the Deflategate debacle comes back, and Tom Brady is now suspended. As it stands right now, he's suspended for the first 4 games of this season coming up. And if what one word would you use to describe that?
There is not one single solitary word that could be launched at Roger Goodell, Kraft, or Tom Brady for this fiasco. Especially because I'm a Steeler fan, and if we would have won the first game of the season last year, we may have had a bye week, thereby not allowing Burfict to get the hit on Antonio Brown.
Wow.
I'm taking it there. Wow. I'm taking it there. Like let's be honest, right? Like
wow.
the suspension was last year for the first 4 games. He appealed the suspension. He was allowed to play the entirety of the season. Game 1, the Pittsburgh Steelers play the Patriots. They win by 1 touchdown. If Tom Brady's not on the field, does that necessarily happen?
That's debatable. I mean,
right.
We're not going to get into the Tom Brady discussion because that's a whole another 45-minute chunk of.
Yeah, I'm just but you said you say what's one word? There isn't one word.
There isn't one word. There's just too many layers to it.
Yeah, I mean, like the whole ever since Spygate and Deflategate and you name it, the Tuck Rule, all of these obscure things to make Tom Brady become who he is. Yeah, there is not one word.
Maybe tell you what. Look, maybe we can dedicate a show to just going over the various ways that the Patriots have benefited from obscure NFL rules that were probably made on the spot, on the fly. And I'll bring somebody into the studio, and and we can just chop it up about how the Patriots were able to do all that, and maybe make some New England fan cry into his chowder or whatever, or write a nasty letter to me. Or I don't know, send me some hate mail. I don't know. We'll figure it out. But
yeah, there's no such places. There's no such place as New England, and they should have to forfeit all their Super Bowls. Moving on.
Agreed, because I would get one. Finally. I would finally get one. I don't give a shit how I get one. I get a ring. NFC East has got more Lombardis than any other division, and Eagles don't have a single freaking one of them. But hey, every year provides a new opportunity. We'll see. Going forward, hey D, look, hey, it's always a pleasure talking to you, man. Always a pleasure.
Always.
And I mean, I'm looking forward to getting you involved in this segment, man. I love your insight. And hey, look, man, hey, you have a good day, a good evening, and I will talk to you later, good sir.
Roger that.
All right, man. Hey, Dirt Diggler out.